You are formulating a diet for a dog or cat, perhaps with a specific health goal in mind. Some particular information is required to be used in the process of formulation. Information that you need in formulating a diet are firstly the amount of each nutrient that the animal needs to consume each day from the food that it is eating. The second information that you need is the amount of each nutrient in the different foods that you would be using for the diet that you are creating. There are 7 steps in the formulation of a diet for a dog or cat. The first step is to define the metabolizable energy requirement that the animal has each day. Metabolizable energy is that component of gross energy of food that is actually available for use by the animal consuming the food. Metabolizable energy can be defined by calculations based on body weight. The second set of numbers to obtain are the concentrations of metabolizable energy in the various foods that are to be used in the diet. Now comes the creative part of diet formulation. You need to devise a mixture of the available foods that will supply the metabolizable energy in a quantity of food that the animal is physically able to eat each day. The second component of a diet that needs to be considered is the total protein content of the draft formulation. If this supplies more protein than required, this is not usually a problem, unless the diet is intended to restrict protein supply. If the protein content is below the requirements, then the diet needs to be modified by increasing the content of a protein-rich ingredient without changing the metabolizable energy concentration. The final step in formulating a diet is to estimate from the food composition tables what the quantity of all the required micronutrients would be in the diet. If some food ingredients are known to be a rich source of micronutrients, then it is likely that these will be supplied in adequate amounts. However, if the diet is deficient in any of the micronutrients, then supplements can be added. There are some commercial computer programs that will now do the formulation of a diet based on foods that are specified and the characteristics of the animal to be fed the diet. An example of such a program is the Pet Designer program, which can be found at this website. There are even no-cost programs that can also formulate diets for dogs and cats. One of the most important requirements in formulating a diet for both dogs and cats is to ensure that the dietary calcium to dietary phosphorus ratio is within certain limits. If outside these limits, then a whole range of defects in calcium and phosphorus homeostasis may develop. The ratio should lie between 1.2 grams and 1.4 grams of dietary calcium for each gram of dietary phosphorus. A meat-only diet is low in calcium relative to phosphorus, so a supplement of calcium would be needed. The things to consider when feeding a cat are somewhat different from those when feeding a dog. Because the body weight of cats are not nearly as diverse as those of dogs, The metabolizable energy requirements can be simply defined on a per kilogram of total body weight rather than per metabolic body weight as for dogs. The specified range is from 50 to 80 kilocalories of metabolizable energy per kilogram of total body weight. If the cat is a very sedentary animal, then the energy requirements would be met by 50 kilocalories per kilogram. And if it is a physically very active animal, then the upper range of 80 kilocalories per day may be required. Apart from the differences in metabolizable energy requirements, cats have a number of very specific challenges in formulating their diets compared to the more flexible approach when combining foods to feed to dogs. A particular problem is the way that cats recognize food. During their first 6 months of life, kittens are willing to eat any food that is presented to them. However, as they approach adult size, they limit their choice of food to those that they have experienced during growth. From then on, they are most reluctant to eat anything unfamiliar. This fastidious behavior is termed dietary habituation or ingestational neophobia. So if they have only experienced one type of food during their early months of life, they become habituated to eat only that food, regardless of whether it provides all the nutrients that they require. Also, in comparison to dogs, cats have a higher protein requirement. This is because their liver is permanently switched on to convert glucogenic amino acids into glucose, regardless of any other dietary source of glucose. Hence, extra protein in the diet is needed in order to ensure that there are sufficient amino acids for protein synthesis, as well as those being converted into glucose. Because of their requirements as an obligate carnivore, cats have a range of very specific nutrients that must be obtained from their diet, while other animals, including dogs, may be able to synthesize these nutrients. The specific requirements are for a dietary supply of arginine, taurine, a higher requirement for sulfur-containing amino acids, for nicotinic acid, and for a specific range of unsaturated fatty acids, particularly arachidonic acid, and also for preformed vitamin A, for choline, and for vitamin D, as the cat is unable to obtain vitamin D by skin exposure to the sun.